The World Telecommunications Development Conference is taking place for the first time in Africa. Now, countries are pledging to speak on the theme of the conference, which is connecting to the unconnected to achieve a sustainable future. Namibia has prepared two pledges, and joining us to speak on those pledges via Skype is the Deputy Minister of Information and Communication Technology, MICT from Kigali, Rwanda. Very good evening to you, Deputy Minister, and thank you for making the time.
Good evening, Theo. Thank you so much for having me.
Now, Namibia has made two pledges, that on cybersecurity and universal services. Briefly outline for us what they mean for the country and its citizens.
Thank you so much. So the pledges Namibia has made, one on the Universal Service Access Fund, is to ensure that we roll out infrastructure across the country, especially where rural areas are concerned. And through the Communications Act, this fund will ensure that it complements the efforts made by mobile operators to put up infrastructure in terms of telecommunications, or even through availability of devices for learners and students, and even possibly their access to Wi-Fi for many secondary schools. So that is the one pledge. Then the second pledge is around cybersecurity. As you know, that as more and more people connect to the internet, there are still incidences of cyber safety that are of a concern. And that is why our second pledge around cybersecurity is to set up a cybersecurity incident response team that is able to react to cyber attacks around Namibia's telecommunications infrastructure, our food security, our safety and security, our intelligence, our water infrastructure, and even our electricity grids. These are all critical infrastructure that needs a team to ensure that any cyber attacks are dealt with immediately, so that we do not find ourselves going through an attack.
That is indeed critical. Now, what is the process that follows the reading of the pledges? What are the steps to follow after that?
The next thing is to ensure that Namibia finds partners, which many of them are here already at the conference. We're meeting various stakeholders from both public and private institutions, governments, and private companies that have the capability and the possible finances to help us meet our goals. So the next steps is to ensure we network as best as we can, so that we're able to put up this activities and this incident response teams as soon as possible, so that we're able to achieve our goals.
Now, what can citizens and also those players within the ICT industry do to support the work of government in fulfilling these pledges?
Well, first, where the Universal Service Access Fund is concerned, I would like the mobile operators to continue paying their levies, and we're very grateful that many of them have undertaken to that commitment. Most mobile players are really pulling their weight in that regard, and we appreciate that as a government. And then secondly, where cybersecurity is concerned, we'd like to encourage citizens, young and old, to play a role to ensure they are, have the skills to protect themselves online. Many of us share very, private information online without actually doing the due diligence to protect ourselves. So we ask them to please make sure they take the necessary cautionary steps to protect themselves online, so they do not become victims of cyber attacks.
Honourable Minister, thank you, Deputy Minister, thank you so much for making the time. And we certainly look forward to having you back to discuss more on how we can implement some of these measures that we, of course, then are learning while you are there at that conference. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.